A couple of months ago, I turned a winged bowl from a piece of KOA, and I thought it a good idea to cut the pith off of the piece because piths are subject to cracking and weakness. Well, everybody seemed to like the bowl quite well, and also everybody thought I should turn the piece I cut off. I'm not sure that they understand that it's cut off because it's bad. And because it's subject to cracking and because it's kind of weak, but they sure did want me to turn it. Lots of comments to turn that cut off piece. Well, this is that cut off piece. This is that pith that I cut off of that KOA winged bowl before I began. So, by popular demand, you're gonna get what you want today. I'm starting square, might end up round, might end up winged, I don't know, but it's about 1.25 inches thick. It's about 7 by 7, and we're gonna turn it into some kind of cute little serving thing. It is beautiful, beautiful wood. Might not look like it now, but it'll look like it later. If it stays together and doesn't crack all to pieces. Let's take a little closer look at it. This is the pith, and that takes up the whole thickness of the piece, and there it is again, all of that. And here you can see a crack, and that's what I didn't want to deal with, but we're going to deal with it today. I'm not holding a grudge. I'm going to give you what you want. It'll probably be fun as long as it stays in one piece. I am going to put CA in there before I start to hopefully keep that crack from running any further than it has. I'm going to use this as the top because that crack stops just short of the top. If I turn it the other way, then we're going to have a crack for sure. We might end up with a crack anyway. It might just, in turning it and jarring it a little bit, it might extend that crack up here to the very top of the piece, but we're going to give it our best shot. So I'm going to go find the center of this piece, drill a hole for my woodworm screw, get it mounted up on the lathe, and we're going to get to turning this KOA from Hawaii, and I'm excited for it. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or as we like to say here at Shady Acres Wood Shop, howdy, let's get to it. I'm going to start by just flattening off the bottom. I think I said this is 1.25 inches thick. Well, it's 1.25 inches thick over here. Over here it's 1.8 inches. And my woodworm screw comes in there 3/4 of an inch. So I don't have a lot of messing around room down here on the bottom. So I just want to flatten it off, put in a recess, flip it around and hollow it out. I don't know quite what, like I said, I don't know if it's going to be square. I think it probably is, but I think I'll probably taper the bottom up this way till it's just very thin. I don't know. This kind of thing intimidates me no end. I feel like a newbie when I'm turning a piece like this. You know, my typical natural organic shaped pieces, the work is all done for me with those. Mother Nature did her thing. All I gotta do is make a hole and polish it up and it's good. Something like this, I gotta come up with a design, and it's just difficult for me. It's just not my thing. But we're gonna make the best of it. We're gonna be turning at 1200 RPM, 5/8 inch bowl gouge, mask and face shield on. See if we got it all. We did. Mark out for a recess. And we'll go ahead and make that recess. Now I need to raise my tool rest a little and use my dovetail tool. Put a dovetail on the side there. That's good. Now we'll start tapering this side. And for that, I'm going to come in from the side. I find that's the best way not to chip those corners. We'll see if that's true. Well, that's not exactly working out. The profile is what I want, but this thin corner is still thinner than the rest. How could that be when they're all tapered? I guess it's because the top isn't flat either. I better not go any further because this is getting pretty thin. That's about half an inch right now. That's about 5/8. This one over here is about 3/4. So I better not go any thinner now until I work the top. So let me see if I can just clean this up a little bit, and then we'll flip it around and work on the top side, and could very well end up back here on the bottom. I don't know. And just shear scraping. Well, that's not great, but at least I know where we stand and what we have to deal with. I am going to turn it around and work on the top side before I blow this. I hope it's not too late. Well, I was going to turn it around, then I got to looking at the top. This is the narrowest, thinnest corner right here, and this is the second narrowest, and see, that's pretty straight along the top. But then you turn it over this way and it's curved. And this is the thickest side. It protrudes that way the most. So once I do flip it over, that'll get cut away first, and this thinnest side will get cut away last. So that's what we want. So it'll be okay. So I'm going to go ahead and sand the bottom and finish it up. And for that, I'm going to use my 2-inch disc starting at 80 grit. I'll have the lathe spinning in reverse at 370 RPM. I'll show you what that looks like as soon as I get my mask on. Easy peasy, I'll do that for a bit. Through 400 grit, I'll bring you back and we'll put some finish on there, and I know what it's going to be. See you in a bit. Who guessed right on the finish? What do you mean, what finish is it? Howard Feed and Wax. Who guessed? Come on, you know you did. This is my preferred finish for pieces that don't have bark, I guess. Well, for dark pieces of wood that don't have bark. Look at that. Look at that. Oh my gosh. Chatoyance. This is silky smooth, except here where the pith is, right through here, there's ripples. Up here, you run your finger over, it's nice and smooth. You run it right here, it kind of tickles your fingers because it's rippled. Because that pith is softer wood, so it sands away easier than the harder wood does. I'm not going to put any in the middle there because that's where I'm going to sign it. Although I don't need to sign it, I'm going to keep this piece as a remembrance of you guys that convinced me to turn it, even though it's the pith. Now it won't be quite this shiny once I buff it. It has to dry for about 20 minutes, and then I'll spin it up at high speed and hold a dry, clean cloth against it to buff it. I don't show that because people yell at me about never take a cloth to the lathe, which is what I learned as well. And then I learned from my own practical experience. So I don't show it because I don't want to get yelled at. Okay, just takes one coat. I'll let that set up 20 minutes, buff it, and turn it around, and we'll start working on the top side. And we got to be careful there not to go through the bottom. See you in a bit. I like to make my recesses about 1/8 of an inch, not more than 3/16. I just don't like them when they're really deep, but I might have blown it on this one. This is only about 1/16 of an inch deep. And if I was halfway smart, I'd recut it right now and not have to deal with it later if it flies off. But it's so nicely sanded, I just hate to do that and have to sand it all over again through all those grits again. So I think I'm going to chance it all. I'll know more once I get it into the jaws of the chuck. Remember, I put a dovetail on the recess of this dish, whatever it is. So you can see the dovetail here. You see how it's narrower inside there than it is out here. And remember my dovetail chisel. how it cuts that dovetail to match. Well, you can see by the chisel and by the jaws that it could go a lot deeper, could come clear into here. But I think I'm satisfied with how much it does come in. I'll see if I can show you that. So right there, it's just about even with the bottom. And see how much further it can go? Quite a bit. And that's only about 1/16 of an inch. So you don't need to make a real deep dovetail. You just need to get onto that taper so that it won't come off. And I think we've done that. I feel more confident now that I've seen how much of a purchase I have on there. I think it's going to be okay. And then remember how we talked about how the top's not flat and how I like to come in from the outside to trim off the thickness of the bottom at that time, top now. Problem here is, you see how close this is to the tool rest? It's about 1/16 of an inch right there. And then if I bring this one around, it's a little further away, another 1/16 of an inch. And then this one is about 3/16 of an inch away, and this one is about 1/4 of an inch away. So when I start coming in here, I'm only going to be hitting one corner, and then the next pass the other corner, and the next pass the third corner, and then finally the fourth corner, maybe by then. It's going to take more than 4 passes anyway, probably. You can see how thin this corner is right here, and then thicker and thicker and thickest. So I need to bring it all down to at least this thin, maybe even thinner. I actually intend to go a little bit thinner. We're just gonna have to see how it goes. Hopefully it'll stay in the recess. I'm pretty sure it will. Gonna be turning at a little over 1200 RPM, 5/8 inch bowl gouge, freshly sharpened, mask and face shield on. I'm trying to get my taper here to match what's on the outside. I guess I really just about need to start at the very corners to go in. Gotta be so careful. I'm going to go ahead and remove this so that I can get a good measurement inside my recess. Make sure I'm not going too thin. I think we're probably there. Yep. We're there. I don't think I dare trust a scraper on that, maybe. Gosh. Some woods just don't like to be scraped. I think this one might be okay with it. See what that looks like. It's okay. See, sometimes it tears the grain. It did tear it here a little bit. I'm just going to sand it. I like what I got going on here. I just don't want to ruin it. Time for sanding. It's been my experience that softwood just doesn't like to be scraped. it ends up in torn grain here. I lost track of the fact that this is pith through here. Here it's scraped nicely, and here it's scraped nicely, but not so much where the pith is. So I dang near ruined it. I'm glad I quit when I did. So, but we can save it though. We can save it, absolutely. So I'm gonna spot sand it like this in place until I get rid of all this mess, and then I'll spin it while it's turning. I'm gonna start at 80 grit and work up through 400, just like I did on the bottom. And I'll show you what that looks like as soon as I get my mask on. Yeah, that's going to clean up pretty easily. Then with this piece spinning forward at about 380. It'll be easy peasy. So I'll bring you back here in a bit and we'll take a good look at it. I'm going to go ahead and put the finish on. You saw me put it on the bottom. I want you to be surprised and see it all at once. So I'll bring you back here in just a little bit. Be sure you stick around to the end of the video so you can see the before and after shots of this piece. If you'd share the video, I'd really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Well, here it is. One KOA snack dish in the books. I don't know what to call it. Now, I have to admit, I turned this to teach you guys a lesson. I thought it was going to come apart. I thought the cracks would be insurmountable. But, as it turns out, you taught me a lesson. I learned from you, and thank you for that. It survived. Can you see the chatoyance in there? I hope that's coming through. It's pretty amazing. Oh yeah, yeah, you can see it there. It's very lightweight, fairly thin. I didn't want it too thin. I didn't want it to break, being pith. But you know what? It's quite stable. I'm just totally surprised. Thank you for convincing me to turn this. The corners are nice and sharp and crisp. No chips, no nothing. It feels so good. Oh, I wish you could feel it. I just wish you could feel it. It's just silky. Like I said, there is some ripples right in this area and on this side here. Now, the funny part is the ripples didn't come through on the inside, just the outside, just the bottom. And I don't think you can see them. Yep, you can feel them. Where the lighter wood goes in because it's not as strong as this heavy wood right here. The darker wood, so it ripples down and then back up and then down and then back up. Feels kind of cool though. Tickles your fingers. I think it's beautiful. It's only 7 inches square, 1.25 inches from tip to bottom. I'm really happy with it. I hope you like it. Thank you, Rick Chapman, for sending this along for all to enjoy. If you like this video, thumbs up please. I'd sure appreciate it. If you're a subscriber, thank you very kindly. I truly appreciate that. If you're not a subscriber, you might consider becoming one. I put out regular videos about 1 a week, and I'd like to keep in touch. An easy way to subscribe is just click my picture you see there near the end of the video. Your comments are always welcome, and I love reading them. So for now, this is Phil, Shady Acres Woodshop, signing off.